Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Giant mural of Greta Thunberg in San Francisco. There's a great line under here. This is the first thing I saw this morning. Imagine that face watching you poop in the street. It's a wonderful. So apparently they put a mural up of her um, in San Francisco because, yeah, of course they would. So as I opened up my computer today, and that was the first thing, one of the first things I saw on Facebook, and then the first video that I saw that's recommended to me was Tucker details a conversation he had with Donald J. Trump after releasing the Epstein, about releasing the Epstein. Tucker. This is where Tucker is an absolute piece of shit, right? Like, there's times that he has, like, little mini breakthroughs, and, he's done a good job on Israel. He has a weird thing about immigration and, the whole martial law thing he's in favor of. He's a CIA asset. I mean, or at least, he was one of those. There's these guys that were trained, Anderson Cooper, Marcus Miletus from the Daily Kos, that were, like the day before they got their break, like the day before the Daily Kos was started, and the day before Anderson Cooper worked for CNN, they were like going to be hired by the CIA or something like that. Very similar stories. And Tucker Carlson, there's people out there that say that he has a similar story. I haven't heard this story, but that's the going view of the thing. But to say that you believe him, like, why would anybody fucking believe Trump, right? On Epstein, he's like said all kinds of stuff. Here. Okay, so the president is the most guilty of any of these guys, right? So number one, he said he liked Jeffrey Epstein liked young women. Number two, President Trump walked into the dressing rooms and bragged about it on Howard Stern, which I showed you many a time, because he bought these beauty pageants so he could walk into these dressing rooms, very young girls. He had the Miss Teen USA, which they were teenagers, and Miss USA. There's a girl who talked about it, who she was 20 or 19 at the time, and she talked about him walking into the dressing room and how all the staff said when he comes in, you have to, get all over him, like you had to, you had to be affectionate with him and all the rest of those things. And so, like, they were actually told to do that. They were half naked, sometimes fully naked, in their dressing room, and he thought he could just walk in and inspect them. And then there is the stuff with his daughter. And then there is the fact that his ex-wife, his first one, said that he raped her in the divorce filings. And then there's all the women that he said these things about. And then he said he could walk up and grab women by the pussy, which is a sexual assault. And he defended it when he was asked in a deposition for one of these multiple cases. He defended it by saying, fortunately, unfortunately, it's a celebrity privilege. Right? Like he doubled down on it and said, it's fortunate or unfortunate. When you're a celebrity, that's just the case. Like he thinks that's a real thing. Like the 5-second rule or something, right? And so the guy he's creepy with women on his own. Like he has enough there. And he's cheated, porn stars or whatever it is. Like he paid off a porn star. Like that's his thing. Like, and he said it. And he said that he liked young girls when he, I have that clip, and I have a compilation of this stuff, which I'm not going to show now, but I've showed it multiple times. And one of the things that somebody sent me is he's at some conference. This is before he was a politician. He talked about hiring a 15 or 16-year-old girl that had no experience and no reason for him to hire. And it was like an alcoholic being around alcohol, some young girl like that. So he has incriminated himself, and then there's the weird birthday message to Jeffrey Epstein. And then all their pictures together, all these things. So Trump's name is in that thing. And, it's 100%. They know it's just his name's in there because Elon Musk even said his name's in the file. And so they're saying, well, it's not incriminating, but what we know is he and Jeffrey Epstein were best friends. And there's all these women that have come forward that talked about Trump's involvement in all this stuff and him being creepy and these things. And so he knew about Jeffrey Epstein. At the very least, he was complicit. Like, he knew it. And he has his own shit that he does, right? Like, he's weird about that stuff. And he was a, womanizer, and he, he was with young girls or whatever it is, whatever their ages were. At least they were like, 17, 18, whatever. And so this stuff should bury him because he knew. And he's supposed to be a guy that's fighting for Americans from these creepy elite pedophile type people. That's what he's sold as. And then his supporters have no idea that he's one of them. And they should, because he's told them over and over again in every possible way. And so for Tucker Carlson, I believe him, he's a good guy. What the fuck are you talking about? It's just that stuff with Trump. If the story with Charlie Kirk, if you're such a great friend to Charlie Kirk, and he went on Charlie Kirk's show and he's against Israel, and that he doesn't believe the official story, then Trump is complicit on that as well, right? It's Trump's FBI and government, Kash Patel and all these people. And so, like, an absolute piece of shit position to take. They just won't bail on Trump, like I guess Marjorie Taylor Greene has, and Joe Rogan or whatever, because this is a Tucker Carlson video. Like, it's on his thing. So it's in his house. She's working for him. You're a piece of shit, Tucker. Like, you know what he said. Like, you're covering for him. What Trump said was, for years he said, like, he was, you kicked him out of his club in whatever year it was, and it was not accurate. And he said it was for, everybody said. This is what these fucking Trumpers were talking about, which was, this whole thing with Charlie Kirk happened, and Trump was about to get rolled. And the fact that Trump is hidden and he looks guilty as fuck. I mean, he looks guilty. You say he looks guilty. At least admit that. But what he said after, what the Trumpers used to say was that Trump did something creepy at his club and Trump kicked him out. But the problem with that, and maybe Trump talked to lawyers about it, or his publicity people, that would mean that Trump knew that the guy was into underage girls and didn't go to the authorities. And it'd be like, well, what did you do? Did you protect the girl? Did you find out? Did you give her support in some way? Did you find out if he did it with any other girls at your club? What did you do to protect young women from him? Like, he's supposed to be this protector, this good guy, right? And they've just made this up about Trump. He's a selfish, worthless piece of shit, right? And the Trumpers have just made shit up about him. And then Trump said that he was poaching employees, that he was hiring employees out of the club. And then he said he try to do it once. It was like young girls. And there was this Virginia Giuffre who, whatever legitimacy there is in her story, and she sounded legitimate when I heard her talk about this. She said she was reading a book on anatomy because she wanted to be a masseuse. And Ghislaine Maxwell said, you can be a masseuse right now. Fucking, I mean, it's so, like, sick. And then she sexually offended her in some way in a massage. Ghislaine Maxwell touched her in a way that was inappropriate. And then she started working for Jeffrey Epstein as a 15 or 16-year-old girl. And she had worked in Trump's club before that and got hired out of that club, which is kind of weird anyway because she was a young girl. She was kind of an underage working at Trump's Mar-a-Lago. But that isn't something creepy. That's Jeffrey Epstein using Mar-a-Lago as a recruitment facility for young girls. And Trump said, yeah, I think that girl might have been one of them that Epstein poached. And so she was the girl that ended up sleeping with Prince Andrew and getting a big settlement from him and then being Epstein herself. She committed suicide in air quotes. So, all of these things, right? And she felt like her life was, whatever. And, if she was just suicided like last year or something, which is weird because, Epstein's dead and, all these, so there's people that want to keep this thing quiet when all these other girls now are scared for their lives and these things, right? Like, it sends a message to them. And Trump did nothing for any of that stuff. So what Tucker Carlson just said is not true. He didn't do something creepy at Trump's club, and Trump was like, oh my God, this guy's a creep. That's not the story. Trump even just came out and said that. That's his most recent, and when he said that, that made it sound even fucking worse. That he was poaching employees. Like, that's why you fucking broke ties with them. Other people said it was because of a real estate deal. And so, but it wasn't like if he said that he knew Jeffrey Epstein was creepy and he didn't do anything about it, he looks weak and complicit, right? So the guy is a piece of shit. Like, Trump is totally fucking complicit. Like, he knew exactly what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. They hung out, and, Trump said he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and he likes them on the young side. And he's a terrific guy. And so, that was years and years after them hanging out. One of his former employees said he warned Trump about Jeffrey Epstein and that there was creepy shit going on. And they were besties. So, one of Trump's inside people. And so, this is all there. Like, this, if I have this information, Tucker has it, right? Like, what a piece of shit, right? Yeah, of course you don't. Because, these people all do this shit, right? They live in an elitist world where they do weird shit. And this is what happens when people get money and power. They do weird shit. Like, they, enjoy normal things that normal people enjoy. But they have, and then, in sense of, the normal type of range of pleasures and, like, whatever, vacations. He had his own island that was in a, like a tropical paradise, right? Some, tropical island. He had an island, wherever it was in Caribbean. There's a chain of islands from Florida all the way down to South America. I lived in the Virgin Islands for a while, these beautiful places. These paradises. He had his own private jet. He could fly around and, all these things. But he also worked for Mossad. And so, Trump is being compromised that whole time. When you're in a relationship with somebody, and Ghislaine Maxwell, who he's given a cushy deal to, like, that's solely incriminating, right? Trump is taking her from a minimum security prison to an even nicer place, right? And he said he wished her well. And, they knew each other. So Trump is, never once wanted to talk about this stuff. He never wanted to do any of these things. And so he's guilty as fuck, right? He's totally complicit. But it's not just Jeffrey Epstein. All these people are into these things. He was pals with the Clintons. Like, Trump isn't the guy that he pretends to be. And the people that love him, they deny all the obvious, like, fucking red flags with the guy, right? He's an elitist who does elitist things. Elite people get into weird shit, right? You get into that club and you find out there's all that weird shit going on. Hollywood, the modeling industry, Trump was in that fucking pageant. That pageant shit is all fucking weird. The modeling industry is even the weirdest thing. Hollywood, Trump was into all those things, right? He was in these Hollywood films. He hang out with Hollywood people. All these people with money. He's a fucking nightmare. All these, he's compromised. He's totally a part of it. He likes that shit, right? The porn star, that fucking gross ass, Stormy Daniels, like, all that shit he did. And then paid her off. Like, you don't pay people off if you're, and then deny it and all that shit, and break ties with his fixer lawyer his fixer lawyer paid her off. She was, she talked about her, her sexual encounters with him. And then he had, these women that came out. Like, he had women he would put in apartments that he would regularly go see, like prostitutes. So, the guy's a fucking creep, right? This is his thing, and he's admitted to it in so many different fucking ways. And so, even if there wasn't an Epstein relationship, it's creepy. Trump is creepy this way. The grab by the pussy should have been enough for right-wing people. Trump was saying that he's, as an elitist and as a celebrity billionaire, he could walk up and grab women by their vaginas. Like, that's what he said. Right? Like, they fucking said that. Like, he just has that privilege. He could walk up to any woman, your wife, your daughter, you, if you're, a woman, and just grab you by the vagina. Like, he's a celebrity. And he's just, fortunately and unfortunately, that's the case. Right? Let me show you the deposition there.
It's true with stars that they can grab women by the...
Well, that's what it's. If you look over the last million years, I guess that's been largely true. Not always, but largely true. Unfortunately or fortunately.
If you look over the last, what did you say, million years? That's what then again. Like, what the fuck?
It's true with stars that they can grab women by the.
Well, that's what it's. If you look over the last million years, I guess that's been largely true. Not always, but largely true. Unfortunately or fortunately.
So a million years ago, who were the stars? You look over the last million years. Look at this fucking. I mean, that's Biden-esque. What do you mean million years? Like million years? Like the official. I mean, what are you equating in terms of human life? Because human beings, the way human beings are now, are supposed to be only around for about 200,000 years. And whatever it is. I mean, I'm not even sure whatever that theory is of Cro-Magnon man and that stuff. But, human civilization, we have about 5,000 years of human history. Like in that, and, it's pretty, it's not even that much, right? That's artifacts and shit like that. And so, I have a whole different assessment of human history on planet Earth. But, in terms of stars, right? If you're talking about royalty, because, there wasn't, she said stars and he said stars. So, but he's, that's kind of fucked up. The million years thing, I'm getting hung up on that. But the important piece is that he's saying that's true. That a man who is a celebrity could just go up and grab a woman by the pussy if he's a celebrity. And that's an elitist point of view, right? And not just a celebrity, but somebody who's rich. Like, that's what he thinks he can do. Like, he's defending that. Like, that's just true. It's just true. It's just fact. He's defending this thing here. And it's a sexual assault. It's a felony. Like, it is, I mean, it's a part of it's a rape-like act. You think about this. Like, what he's saying is that if you're a celebrity, you can go up to any woman. Because there's lots of women out there who don't have any kind of feelings about celebrities, right? I mean, if he's talking about a showgirl or any of these, young women who aspire to be high Hollywood actresses, they may or may not like him or find him attractive. And they may prostitute themselves for something, money and power or whatever, a shot at something. But more often than not, they would not want him to just go do that. Like, how many women want that, right? We just want for a man. Like, just think about, if you're a person, like I'm introverted, and I'm not a big person on physical contact, like especially with strangers or whatever it might be. And so, and that is like just in general, there's people who are. I mean, what about a woman who's had sexual abuse? You think she wants that kind of thing? Some creepy, fat, Jabba the Hutt motherfucker like this walking up and grabbing her by the fucking vagina? Like, you think that's what they would want? Right? And so, he's just like, look at this fucking fat fucking, like he's just like a unconscious, right? Just oblivious. He's an oblivious motherfucker. And that should have ended his career so that both times. When that tape came out, I mean, women and men who are on the right wing ignored that. Imagine if Clinton had said that. Imagine if Obama had said that, or Biden. Biden was very creepy in his own way with this weird stuff. Like, they're both, Biden and him are very similar. And so that should have ended him right there. That should be all, I mean, in any generation before this, any time period, we're so degraded and people are so desperate on the right. But the right level Christian conservatives would have buried this fucking guy when I was a kid for saying that, right? I mean, just the whole fucking thing.
It's true with stars that they can grab women by the.
Well, that's what it's. If you look over the last million years, I guess that's been largely true. Not always, but largely true. Unfortunately or fortunately.
What would be fortunate about that? Right? How would that be a fortunate thing? Why would that be fortunate? Let's say that was actually true. Wouldn't that be unfortunate, right? Wouldn't it be unfortunate that women would be so degraded that they would think that's a privilege? Like, wouldn't that be a fucked up society where if you were a celebrity, every woman, whether she's married or not, or whether, like, Jeffrey Epstein's brother said that Jeffrey Epstein told him the story about why Jeffrey Epstein asked Trump why he liked to sleep with so many married women. And Trump said, because it's so wrong. And Jeffrey Epstein was laughing about it. And then his brother said he he was with Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, maybe on this plane or something. And Jeffrey Epstein asked him again so that his brother could hear Trump say this answer because it was so wrong. And so what would be fortunate about that? Like, that would be the worst thing. That would be a horrible society if this was absolutely true. It would be a totally morally degraded society. It's fortunately or unfortunately, it's fortunate for me because I'm a celebrity,
And you consider yourself to be a star?
I think you can say that. Yeah.
She's accusing me of rape. A woman that I have no idea who she is.
Okay, so there's the rest of this. But not all these accusations could be false. Some of them might be, trumped up. Some of them could be disinformation or whatever. But there's too many women have come forward. It's not just the amount. It's the stories they tell. It's the believability that they have, right? It's Trump admitting that he would go into, him saying this. If he thinks he could just go up and grab a woman by the pussy because he's a celebrity, and then he admits he's a celebrity, this is what he's bragging about. Plus, what he was bragging about, he was trying to impress Billy fucking Bush on one of those entertainment, that weird fucking, he was trying to impress that guy, right? So this is who we're talking about here.
A million people who had dinner with him, mostly liberal.
You know a million people that had dinner with Jeffrey Epstein, mostly liberals. Mostly the liberals with. He's mostly liberal people. Trump knows him. I went to the island a lot of times. What the fuck he's talking about, right? The thing about it is Trump has exposed his internal world. I showed this in an earlier video. Bill Cosby had a comedy bit, and then he said he doubled down on it on the Larry King show and talked about how all young men were obsessed with the Spanish fly, which was supposed to be this substance that you would get in like the back of a comic book that apparently it was like something to do with insects. I'm not sure if that's just a lie, but whatever. But it would irritate the urethra of women when they would urinate or something like this, and it would make them feel sexual. They would misinterpret that as sexual arousal. And and whether Bill Cosby knew that or not is irrelevant. But Bill Cosby got accused of date raping women with drugging them with like some kind of drug, and then sexually abusing them. Right, like that was what he was accused of, and he is very, I showed the clip before, but he's very adamant about it, like how much he was in pursuit of that, some magic potion that would make women, just not because you were charming or you won their hearts over, any of these things. Again, he's a married guy, but and he hung up at the Playboy Club all the time. It was creepy fucking MK Ultra bullshit, going beta sex kittens over there. All that stuff, right? This is, again, so these are the people that we're talking about. And he would, but the reason I brought that up is because Bill Cosby exposed his internal world, right? Let me just show you the clip, because
Spanish fly was the thing that all boys from age 11 on up to death, we will still...
All boys. So that is not true, because I heard about it, and I didn't necessarily feel it was creepy. I had no interest in it, right? Like they had these things in the back of comic books they would sell, and this is how you got access, or these catalogs, and some of the things were like X-ray glasses that I think had like skeletons on them, or there's some I never saw these things. But, you knew they were scams, right? Like, they were just things that, sounded good to a little kid. But the Spanish fly was something that, it's just something very creepy about it, because it's like a date rape type of thing, right? It's like it's the same kind of thing. It's, it's the drugging a woman, or you're doing something to her that would, not based in, your award-winning personality or that she likes you, but you're, triggering something. Like, it's a weird concept, right? deviant concept. And I didn't know anybody who had bought Spanish Fly. Like, it was available, right? Like, if you read comic books, it was there. I heard about it, and I knew about it. You know, I'm younger than he is, but, you know, it was around. And I didn't hear of anybody buying it or wanting to buy it. Like, you know, you'd ask, like, however I found out about it, you know, like you would say Spanish Fly. And then some kid told me what it was for, you know, what it was rumored to be about. And none of those kids 11 years old was buying it. You know, so he's making it sound like all of his friends and all, you know, every kid he knew wanted Spanish Fly, right? And so
Be searching for Spanish Fly. That's right. And what was the old story was, if you took a little drop, no, it was on the head of a pin.
That's right.
And
Drop
you put
it in
the drink.
Coca-Cola. Don't matter.
It doesn't make it, and the girl would drink it, and
she's yours.
Hello, America.
So I'm going to play this Trump thing as well. But, you know, what Bill Cosby's doing is exposing his internal world, right? Like, inside of him, the Spanish Fly was something as a kid he was fascinated with. As an adult, he found out there was rape drugs, where you could slip something into a woman's drink. It's a fucked up thing, right? It's poison, right? Some kind of, you know, I mean, it's these things that inebriate people is poisonous. So it's a toxin. You're poisoning a woman, right? And this is what Bill Cosby was into. And so, you know, when you work as a counselor, and I work with teenage sex offenders, and they're supposed to confess their whatever it was, and I also did psychological assessments. And, you know, finding out what makes people tick, what makes people, you know, the things that people don't tell you, the thoughts that people don't tell you, the compulsions, right? Anybody working with criminals and having a psychological capacity, it's you have to take little details here and there to understand the kind of person a person is. And Trump has given these details because he's a fucking big talker. In public life, he's told everybody what kind of person he is in a variety of ways, right? And so, you know, if I know about this, anybody looking into it, Tucker Carlson certainly, as being a so-called journalist, like, if he did this great thing on Israel, you know, a couple of weeks ago I played it. Wonderful, you know, wonderful thing he did. And, you know, it takes the ability to kind of put together a story and understand, you know, you take all these facts and you create the dynamic. You did a good job of defining the dynamic between America and Israel, like Israel being a parasitic country. And so he did a great job with that. But, you know, with Trump, he can't, you know, like Trump is complicit with all these things. He's complicit with Israel. You know, Israel is, I mean, Trump's saying he's given him every weapon that he asked for, all these things that I just played. And Tucker Carlson can't put those two things together. The stuff with Charlie Kirk and Trump, the stuff with Epstein and Trump. You know, there's a common fucking denominator. It's right here, right?
Go backstage before a show. Yes. And everyone's getting dressed and ready. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore
Wait.
I'm inspecting it.
You're inspecting it. Okay, that's not a true thing. Just like grabbing by the pussy, that's not a real thing. You're committing a felony. Doesn't matter if you're the owner of the pageant. They're not your fucking slaves, right? Because I'm the owner of the pageant. I get in to go in the women's dressing room, get in, go in the bathroom as well. Can you look over the stall to make sure? Like, what the fuck? Are you serious? Like, you think that's a real fucking thing? That's a fucking crime, bro. And so he's exposing what kind of piece of shit he is, right?
Everyone okay? You know, they're standing there with no clue. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible looking women. And so I sort of get away with things like that.
Today, a former Miss Arizona, who calls herself a conservative, going public in an interview with KCBS, describing what she says happened backstage with Trump at a Miss USA pageant.
Our first introduction to him was when we were at the dress rehearsal and half naked, changing into our bikinis.
Tasha Dixon detailing her discomfort.
To have the owner come waltzing in when we're naked or half naked in a very physically vulnerable position, and then to have the pressure of the the people that work for him telling us to go fawn all over him, go walk up to him, talk to him, get his attention.
She describes feeling helpless.
Who do you complain to? He owns the pageant. So,
Exactly. He gets to go get away with it. He gets to inspect you because that's what he does. So, this evidence about Trump is everywhere. Like, there's all these clips. I have a whole, hour-long compilation. And, he bought the beauty pageant. Why do you think he bought the beauty pageant? So he could get access to these women. And then there's all these people who've come forward and talked about it. It's just there. It's fucking, this is who Trump was. Despite, even if he'd never met Jeffrey Epstein. Grab him by the pussy, walking into girls' dressing rooms. You think that's okay? If your daughter worked on this pageant, you'd be okay with that fat fucking greasy fuck walking into the dressing room? You'd be okay with that, right? You think that's cool? And so this is who Trump is. The information's right fucking there for everyone to see. He shouldn't have been elected the first term. This shit came out with Ground by the Pussy and all these dumb fucks. That's why I call them dumb fucks, because they're so desperate. They finally a guy that agreed with them and told them he understood, told them he agreed with what they were thinking and saying, and so that was enough for them to ignore all the fucking red flags from this guy. He's owned by fucking Israel in a way we've never seen. The best friend that Israel's ever had. Let me play those two memes from yesterday, just because let's not forget about what he just did with them. So let's play those memes here.
But we'll only be satisfied when all of these problems are solved, and we have the team to solve them, and that's going to happen. And it's going to happen, I think, very quickly. I also strongly believe that the Gaza Strip, which has been a symbol of death and destruction for so many decades, and so bad for the people anywhere near it, and especially those who live there, and frankly, who's been really very unlucky. It's been very unlucky. It's been an unlucky place for a long time. Being in its presence just has not been good, and it should not go through a process of rebuilding and occupation by the same people that have really stood there and fought for it and lived there and died there and lived a miserable existence there. Instead, we should go to other countries of interest with humanitarian hearts, and there are many of them that want to do this, and build various domains that will ultimately be occupied by the 1.8 million Palestinians living in Gaza, ending the death and destruction and, frankly, bad luck. This can be paid for by neighboring countries of great wealth. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 12. It could be numerous sites, or it could be one large site. But the people will be able to live in comfort and peace, and we'll make sure something really spectacular is done. They're going to have peace. They're not going to be shot at and killed and destroyed like this civilization of wonderful people has had to endure. The only reason the Palestinians want to go back to Gaza is they have no alternative. It's right now a demolition site. This is just a demolition site. Virtually every building is down. They're living under fallen concrete that's very dangerous and very precarious. They instead can occupy all of a beautiful area with homes and safety, and they can live out their lives in peace and harmony instead of having to go back and do it again. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years. I'm hopeful that this ceasefire could be the beginning of a larger and more enduring peace that will end the bloodshed and killing once and for all. We're going to win that war like nobody has ever won a war before. We will not be politically correct, but we're not going to be there. And I think, as you mentioned, Bibi, before, peace through strength. And that's what it's all about. The United States has the greatest and most powerful military in the, right now, history of the world. I can tell you we have weapons that nobody's ever dreamt of. I only hope we never have to use them. I rebuilt the military. I was proud to do it, but some of the things I hated to do. I hated certain of the weapons because the level of power is so enormous. It's so dangerous, so bad. But we have to do what we have to do. We make the best weapons in the world, and we've got a lot of them. And we've given a lot to Israel, frankly. And I mean, Bibi would call me so many times, can you get me this weapon, that weapon, that weapon? Some of them I never heard of, Bibi, and I made them. But we'd get them here, wouldn't we? And they are the best. They are the best. But you used them well. It also takes people that know how to use them. And you obviously used them very well. The state of Israel is strong, and it will live and thrive forever. And that is why Israel will always remain a vital ally of the United States of America. Israelis share our values, field one of the world's most powerful militaries. You really do. You have an amazing, what a job you've done. And have one of the most innovative economies on earth. Those are just a few of the reasons why I'm proud to be the best friend that Israel has ever had. And they all say it. In the White House. They all say it. I guess it's true because everybody says it, baby. You said it today. Thank you.
Okay, so I went and ate breakfast, and it was right at the 10 o'clock hour, and I started watching ESPN, and I turned over to CNN, and they were just starting to cover these three subjects. I'll show you the clip in a second here with Wolf Blitzer. We're talking about with Trump, he forces himself on people. And he does that with lawsuits. He does that with bullying. He does that with threats. He's a bully. And, you know, that's somebody who does that as well with his sexual behavior. Like, that's who he is. He forces his views on people. He makes people bend to his will because he has leverage over them. And you see it time and time again. And he promises things, and he sells himself. And then he gets you in a vulnerable position, and he forces himself on you. You know, he's somebody who wants to win the deal. He wants to win the argument. You know, in the Apprentice show, he'd bring these contestants into the boardroom, and they would have these shit fights where they, and the one who screamed louder or when was more nasty, he'd be like, "Oh, you're losing this thing to the other person, right? You're getting killed in here." And like that's what he did with Rosie O'Donnell and these Twitter fights, and it's all a part of his behavior where he gets implied consent or forced consent. It's all about consent, right? This is him not really having consent, right? Like somebody who, uses his power and his influence to get people to bend to his will. And so this is consistent with all the accusations that he's gotten. His behavior is the kind of person he is. And also this idea that if you're a celebrity, an elitist, because he likes these celebrity elitists, these elitists that his base is so much against, the elite. Oh, he's going to take down the elite. No, he loves the elite. He is the elite. And he believes that elite should have certain privileges. And they don't need consent, right? You guys don't have a voice in any interaction. He can just roll over you, whether it be the people in Palestine, whether it be some people in some neighborhood he wants to build a building in, whether it's the animals and the wildlife that he wants to destroy so he can do one of his bullshit real estate projects or anything else he's doing. Like, he doesn't get consent, right? He uses force. He uses whatever he can to bend people to his will. And so this is who Trump is. And all these dopes have gotten used by him, right? And so let me show you the Wolf Blitzer thing here first.
Ceasefire plan remained unresolved, and Hamas has returned only 4 of the 28 deceased hostages. Plus,
So the weird thing about Trump is this whole thing with Gaza. They destroyed this motherfucking place. They bombed the shit out of it. Like it's been reduced to rubble. Like nothing we've seen. Like nothing we've ever seen. You know, Trump. And they're just pretending like that just didn't fucking happen, right? This war, right? Like it's so fucked up. But he's saying that they only released whatever this percentage, 9 hostages. What do you say? And that the dead hostages. They had 28 dead hostages. You think they had these bodies around for 2 years? Like, I mean, they don't have them, right? Maybe they would keep them because they know how Israel, feels about that. But, it's totally believable that they wouldn't have them. I mean, especially the ones that died early on or whatever it is, right? So, what happens then? Like, if they don't get these dead bodies back, do they go and do more fucking bombing, bomb the rest of the 20% of the buildings, and what else is left to do, right? I mean, it's just like this thing's going to fall apart at some point, and it's going to be Israel violating something, blaming it on Hamas, right? That's what's going to happen.
Rejecting an ultimatum, media outlets are pushing back big time against the new Pentagon press policy, with even pro-Trump channel Newsmax calling the new requirements unnecessary. And later, quote, we are not airing this. Why multiple airports are refusing to play this video of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem at security checkpoints around the country. Welcome to our viewers in the United States and around the world. I'm Wolf Blitzer in Tel Aviv, Israel.
Wolf Blitzer is a Jewish person. So this is fucked up stuff, right? This is, again, like, look at the things that he doesn't have consent for. Giving Israel all these weapons and all this money that people are unaware of. I mean, it's not just him, but it's been done for years, and he's done it more so than anybody else. The way that Israel forced themselves on Gaza using our money and our weapons, and just the way he was, the best friend they ever had. And then whatever censorship he's doing in terms of news media, which he said that he was against censorship, but only when it's against him and the right wing. And then whatever bullshit propaganda this fucking dopey Barbie MNFer is pushing. I'll see if I can find that ad. I'm not going to play it here. I might as well find it here, but I want to get back to what I was saying with Tucker Carlson and this other thing here, right? But he's always using force, and he has these weird, I mean, if it's so weird, the TSA won't play it, right? Okay, this dingbat. Trump has these brain-dead Stepford wives that just will never, I mean, to Marjorie Taylor Greene's credit, like she's crossing party lines and criticizing Trump and, all of it. But a lot of these dead-eyed fucking Barbie-like spokesmodels, right? They just come out and here.
Hi, I'm Kristi Noem, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security.
Hey, Kristi.
It is TSA's top priority to make sure that you have the most pleasant and efficient airport experience as possible while we keep you safe.
Yeah, that's the most. I've talked about this before. Whenever you're in like a treatment center or like a, one of these types of things, the kind of where they, put you on a psychiatric hold or something like that. We're just trying to keep you safe, right? Whenever they say we're just trying to keep you safe, TSA, oh, so you're not going to grab anybody's crotch today, right? I bet Trump will. Trump could work in the TSA. And so you guys aren't going to be frisking anybody and, going through their shit because of fucking some bullshit things that happen. So you can be invading people's privacy and their fucking,
However, Democrats in Congress refuse to fund the federal government. And because of this, many of our operations are impacted, and most of our TSA employees are working without pay.
Okay, so you just can't do this. Like, you just can't fucking do this. Like, if the Democrats had done this, they would be going nuts. I mean, if the Democrats had come in and did a political message, at the airport where they're supposed to play this for passengers. They're supposed to be playing at the fucking airport, right? They're playing this at the airport, and the Democrats, all the Democratic people, they hear this. I mean, even if you're a Republican, you should be outraged by this kind of propaganda. This is like Big Brother stuff. This is like see something, say something from Janet Napolitano. I mean, all the Republicans went nuts when she said all that stuff. We'll get into that in a moment. But she wasn't even targeting Republicans by name. Like, this is fucked up. You can't do this, right? This is breaking so many fucking laws, right? It's just fucking wrong. And it's the Republicans have the majority. They should be able to get the government up and running again, but they don't want to release the Jeffrey Epstein thing. We had that from whatever that one guy is, Thomas Massey, and other Republicans are saying, and Democrats are saying, the Republicans don't want to get the government to come back because they don't want to have to deal with the Epstein thing. I mean, Trump is running scared of Epstein. And so this is all part of that bullshit, right? This is fucking dead-eyed frickin'.
We will continue to do all that we can to avoid delays that will impact your travel. And our hope is that Democrats will soon recognize the importance of opening the government.
Just so unbelievably brutal. It's so hard to find the whole message. They do just show parts of it. But you just can't fucking do that, right? And look at these fucking morons. First on Fox, DHS Secretary blasted Democrats for government shutdown affecting TSA workers in video that will play every public airport in America. Now, if you're a good Republican, you should be against all the invasive things that happen at the airports. How humiliating for the Democrats. This video with Secretary Noem is playing at the airports across the country. It's not humiliating. This is propaganda. This is fucking deep state shit. Like, this is total deep state shit that they're doing, right? And so they're pushing this out there like it's a real fucking thing. Because there's these other ones here. But, this is something that they should be walking away from. This dumbass, like, C word, right? Doing this kind of stuff. I mean, it's something they should be, pushing back against. And they're embracing it. It just shows you how stupid these dumb fuck Republicans are. Just like they were pushing for these, what were those secret military tribunals in Guantanamo Bay and violating people's constitutional rights and the right to due process and thinking that's a good thing. Like they just, now with the martial law, these dumb motherfuckers are giving away everything that they stood for because they think Trump is on their side when he's giving everything away to Israel that he can. He's clearly owned by them and he's Epstein and he's grabbing women by the pussy, but somehow they think he's a good guy. So this is Terry Crews, right? Former linebacker, NFL linebacker turned bad Hollywood actor.
He says his tough guy persona didn't prevent him from becoming the victim of a powerful man.
I was sexually assaulted by Adam Bennett, who was the head of the motion picture department at William Morris Endeavor.
In February of 2016, Crews says he and the Hollywood super agent Adam Bennett were at the same party. Bennett has represented some of Hollywood's biggest names: Liam Hemsworth, Emma Stone, Sylvester Stallone,
not Sylvester Stallone,
Eddie Murphy, and Adam Sandler.
You're talking about a very, very powerful man who has access to studio heads. What they do affects every part of the business, from producers, writers, actors. They own finance companies, the whole thing.
And did you know him before the party?
And I did not know him. I heard of him. We had never, ever even had a conversation, okay? So I just heard, and actually, I was actually looking forward to meeting him.
But
what happened?
Instead of a professional meet and greet, Crews claims Bennett leered at him from across the room.
And he looked me in my eyes, and he was sticking his tongue out overtly sexually to me. I mean, it was no mistake that this was a sexual type tongue move. And I'm going,
sexual type tongue move.
And I'm thinking it's a joke. I'm thinking, is this how this guy breaks the ice? I don't understand what this is.
Confused, Crews said he reached out to shake his hand.
I reached my hand out, and he takes his right hand and under mine and immediately squeezes, grabs my genitals and just
boom.
And I'm jumping back like, hey, whoa.
Whoa, man, this is a first date. Okay, so it's a little bit more laughable when it's a dude, but no man would want this, right? I mean, most men would want this. The majority of heterosexual men wouldn't want this, right? And even, gay men don't want just anybody coming up and grabbing their balls, right? And so, imagine if George Clooney, who's a star, walked up to Trump and grabbed him by the crotch, right? And so this is what I'm talking about. Like, nobody wants that. It's not cool to do something like that. And it's even worse for a woman this guy's bigger and could kill, could physically assault that other guy. But, this is not getting as much attention as this things with who's the best friend that Israel ever had in the White House? Who's given Israel everything? Tucker. Like, he's against Israel. Now, we don't know what his deal is. Like, CIA, yeah, whatever, handled whatever, right? All these things. But, it's also about his audience. These people are scared to turn on Trump. I mean, whatever it is, right? Whatever his personal deal is. But there's enough evidence on Trump being a piece of shit. I mean, he's pushing for the martial law thing, Tucker is. Like, so, like he's going against Israel, so that gives him some credibility. He did a good job. The thing he did was excellent. I played it here. But, like, how could you pretend that Trump has not been compromised by Epstein and Israel and the rest of it? You can't pretend. It's right in your fucking face, right?
Dating at this point.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I'm not like I work for the CIA. I don't know. Just Jesus Christ, Tucker. It was clearly a job. He was funded, this whole thing. He had people on to talk about the funding. He had the whole thing. And Trump is compromised. Trump is clearly compromised on Israel. He's compromised on so many different things, but Israel being the number one. And the rest of it. And Trump's a piece of shit. And he was clearly Epstein. And he was clearly Epstein's bro. He had a deeper relationship than all these other acquaintances. They hung out all the fucking time. And there's no way that Epstein wouldn't share his proclivities with Trump because Trump had those same proclivities. Like, it's fucking right in your fucking face. I mean, as much as you're going to get the truth, it's right there. You don't need the rest of it to know what kind of piece of shit Trump is, right? Like, it's just, at what point, and he's vouched for Trump on that fake assassination attempt. He said he was there. He knows. Like, these fucking guys know. Jesus Christ. Okay, so I saw this last night. There's people who, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene is more sincere than some of these other people. She's really stupid, and she was a QB, and she's, emotional, and she's unhinged. She says stupid shit. But she seems to actually, be somewhat driven by some internal process of whatever. Like, I don't think she's being run in terms of going after Israel or now turning on Trump. And the rest of these people, Joe Rogan and all these people, have to consider their audience, right? These people are making millions of dollars. They're constantly, having to put a filter on and actually discuss these things because, they're having these conversations with people, and they can always, with Joe Rogan, he can kind of say, well, it's a lot of times it's other comedians, and they can, hide under that a little bit, that it's just comedians talking shit and voicing their opinions. It's on Spotify. He got hammered for the ivermectin thing, which apparently now is being researched by Trump for cancer prevention. I had a clip there. I don't know if I have it up here or not. But, and I don't know about it. Just all these things. It's just you can't trust anybody. I mean, I have a whole voiceover that I'm going to put out, just a voiceover video I did last night about all this stuff. This is why there's no walking any of this stuff back, because we can't trust anybody anymore. And so, you have like all of that. But these people who have to consider their audience before telling what the stuff that they know, or they're worried about being killed, which is legitimate, because there's no reason to say shit. It's not going to change anything if it's going to threaten your life, right? If you're on a spiritual journey, you can affect the world through your connectivity, through your connection to God, and that's the most important thing. And so, if you're somebody who's having a sincere spiritual experience, you have to put that above politics and above your personal opinions about things, or, rubbing people the wrong way and becoming a threat to people. I consider that all the time, because you have to do your spiritual work, which is more important than any kind of things that you'll say, because you're not here to change the system. The system's going to come down on its own accord. Bad systems, demonic systems, collapse faster than good systems. I mean, all systems collapse, everything dies. But the bad ones, they collapse fairly quickly. You know, in the span of time, they don't last very long. And so, and this system is going to collapse from the weight of its depravity, and anything that goes against God collapses. But anyways, this witch, this
Political power lies in being able to convince his supporters of anything and
she said Trump's political power.
everything. Then loud public dissent from inside his coalition, from prominent MAGA influencers, might be the thing that will melt his carefully crafted alternative fact-based reality faster than the Wicked Witch in The Wizard of Oz. And
Speaking of the Wicked Witch, I didn't know she was going to say. I watched this, but I didn't know she said that. Because I often compare her to a witch. You know, I had that whole thing.
that is exactly what is starting to happen.
Like, it doesn't look like her teeth come out. Watch.
Faster than the Wicked Witch in The Wizard of Oz. And that is exactly what is starting to happen with his brutal and ugly and clunky and wildly unpopular mass deportation scheme. The sight and the sound and the smells of heavily armed federal agents sweeping up people with no...
They smell bad. That's true. Just like when Alex Jones said that Hillary and Barack Obama smelled like sulfur. These guys also have an odor. They have a dystopian odor.
no criminal records. Everyone from grandmas to kids, with arrests everywhere from outside of schools to outside of bakeries, even to a Marine base. Those sights and sounds are proving to be too much for arguably the most influential podcaster in the MAGA-adjacent universe. Here's Joe Rogan.
The way it looks is horrific. When you're just arresting people in front of their kids and just normal, regular people that have been here for 20 years, that everybody who has a heart can't get along with that.
No.
Everybody who has a heart sees that and goes, that can't be right. That can't be right. That can't be the...
Yeah, but it's very few people have an actual heart. Most people are just so fucked up and so bound up. They don't have a real connection with their heart. It's like there's lots of people who don't feel love. And some people have never experienced love in their life. Like, they don't feel it. Maybe some of you guys, I don't know. And so, like, there's that element, and you have to work at it. You know, in the Sajmark system, Babaji used to, you know, there was these 3 initial sittings that people needed to have where there was a minimal amount of cleaning done to the heart before the first transmission can be received. And there were people like my brother who, you know, they were so gross, or they're so bound, so wound, so tight, so physical. My brother's probably real, you know, physical, that they just wouldn't feel the transmission. They couldn't feel this divine love that is transmitted. And there were lots of people who didn't feel it initially, and then people had different varying levels of sensitivity, right? But there were people who, that needed more than 3 sittings. There was one person, Babaji had to give 24 sittings, and you know, he had a very strong will force to do deep cleaning that preceptors wouldn't even have, right? So when you go do the Sajmark system, you go and the preceptor would clean your heart for 3 days, and then the 3rd day you would receive the first transmission. I felt the transmission on the end of the first sitting, which is kind of, you know, whatever it is. But I went through deep fucking cleaning over the years, like just brutal shit. And then when I was made a preceptor, like, I mean, the last sitting I got with Master Chargy, all these thoughts, all this horrible shit, I was just like, it was flying through my system. Like it was like watching some reel that was sped up of just the worst stuff. And I felt horrible. I felt like, you know, really bad. Just, it was this, and you know, this was the sitting before he made me a preceptor. And I couldn't believe like how all this stuff was coming out. And I had 8 sittings, 3 with him and 5 with these full preceptors, senior people in the mission. But, you know, there's this stuff that happens to people's hearts. In some cases, he found that there were people, and, you know, this is in India and, you know, some hippies from Europe and America and some people, that he couldn't penetrate because their heart was like made out of concrete. Like he couldn't clean them. It was like impenetrable, the level of grossness they had. And he said, like, you know, if he could crack it, but it would probably kill them. Like, they would kill their physical heart. It's like he couldn't do that. And for those people, they could just pray every night. They were pray, and if they wanted to be better, they pray every night and like to loosen this to God to become spiritual, but they couldn't even do the initial aspect of it. They were so fucked up, right? And there's probably so many people like that who are they just don't have the capacity to feel love. And people, are ingesting so much content now. It makes it hard to penetrate to the deeper levels of your spiritual being. And so, the stuff with Joe Rogan. So let's get back to it here.
The only way to do this.
Right.
Because you have to think, look, yeah, we have to have a border. Yes, it should have been secure.
Okay, so he gets into this stuff. I don't know how much I can use of this. And then she has Marjorie Taylor Greene here somewhere.
With drugs, have an effing heart. And if you do it anyway, you don't have one. But
Let's go back a little bit here.
Have an effing heart. Politics, and in one of the most influential media bubbles in American politics, the Rogan standard is that it is now, quote, heartless if you were for sending anyone back who's been in the country 20 years, anyone other than, quote, terrorists and people coming in with drugs. Have an effing heart.
Rogan also talked about how there are kids who got brought here as children and they didn't get born. They weren't born here, so they're not American citizens, but they've grown up here. They don't speak Spanish and they're getting dragged out. The stuff with Trump it has nothing to do with the border. It has nothing to do with crime. They're imposing martial law. They're going to have to give you a new deal, and there's not anything they can do to stop that. It's collapse one way or another. Like, the system's fucked. They're going to take your shit. Like, you're going to take your money. You're going to take your, wealth is going to disappear. Debt-based wealth is going to have to disappear. Your Social Security, it's going to disappear. Your bank accounts are going to disappear, right? Land ownership, whatever it is. Like, they're going to have to take things away from people. Things that you thought you owned and, things that you were given permission to own. Like, you're given permission to own land by the U.S. government, the state government. They can take it anytime they want, right? There's these big media centers going up everywhere. There's one that was just blocked recently in a city near me. And there's, this stuff is happening. We've also heard that there's one out in farmland by where I live. And they suck up all this water and they're fucking nasty things. They're putting these data centers, AI centers, all these things up. And they're hard on the resources and they just, the whole thing is fucked. Like, we know where this is going, right? But let's get to the Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, she's trying to take the moral high ground, but you supported Joe Biden, who was clearly senile, and he was clearly for censorship and a lot of other bad shit. And you guys pretended like it didn't happen. You guys never broke from the fucking guy or any of the Democrats and she used to be a Republican. She was, this woman was Sarah Palin's handler. She worked for John McCain, like on the campaign. And then she became a Democrat and based in what they do here on MSNBC. This witch-like looking motherfucker.
And if you do it anyway, you don't have one. But importantly, because he's said things before and we didn't lead with them, he's not alone. Disapproval and unease with Trump's mass deportation scheme extends to some of Trump's most diehard elected supporters as well. Never thought I'd say this, but here's Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene making a lot of sense on a podcast over the weekend.
We have a labor force in America across many industries that has been built on illegal labor. That's a fact. That also cannot be ignored. And as a conservative and as a business owner in the construction industry and as a realist, I can say we have to do something about labor, and that needs to be a smarter plan.
Yeah, I've said this about, I go to red states. Yeah, I live in a red state, and I go to red states. And I've seen illegal aliens working in red states and for Republican people quite a bit, right? Whenever I see them, I've seen it, more than once, and they don't seem to have a problem with illegal immigrants when they're getting cheap labor. And so if you don't go after the people that are hiring them, there's a supply and demand issue. You start putting people in prison for, or fining them, or doing shit that would make them not hire illegal people, then there would be less illegals here because they couldn't get work. And so you can't just blame people who are desperate coming from some country who are living, horrific kind of conditions. I mean, whatever situation they have for coming into a better place, right? And, doing it illegally, sure, that's a problem. I saw this dopey woman on, I think it was this not this episode, but this show with Marsha Wallace and Nicole Wallace. And she, they played some people who were, maybe it was Joe Rogan. It was Joe Rogan. And either it was on MSNBC, I'm pretty sure, wherever it was. And this woman was like, well, I've been here the whole time. And she was a Hispanic comedian. And these people are just coming on board, and they're like, like she was like a purist truther, this kind of way that people are. And, and we all say that when people are conveniently jump on the bandwagon. And she was going, they make it sound like these people are criminals. And I'm like, well, they are criminals. They came here illegally. I mean, whatever you want to say about it. And I'm not blaming them exclusively for this issue because many of them are in horrific situations. But, and the people that hire them are just as culpable, but they never get blamed. They never have to be held accountable. The whole thing's fucked is what I'm saying. Like, you can't clean up this fucking mess, right?
And then just rounding up every single person and deporting them just like that.
Right.
So, and I'm going to get pushback on that, but
Yeah.
I'm just living in reality from here on out.
I wasn't before, but now I'm stopping, Like, she was a QAnon believer. And then she kind of woke up from that, but she still was QAnon. And then she's a Trumper, and now she's waking up to Trump. And, hopefully she turns on him completely because she gets pretty nasty. But, it doesn't matter. And I don't know if the whole MAGA sphere turns on Trump, and Trump has no support. And I know that he'll cripple him with the Republicans because that's his, they're scared to face up to him. But, I don't think he's going to stop. I mean, I don't, whatever, Democrats have nothing. They're like limp-dicked. They can't do anything about what Trump's doing. Maybe in 2 years in the midterms, I don't know. But, I think that he's being backed by the same people that, he's definitely being backed by the same people that own the Democrats. And so what are they going to do, right? Like, this is why they didn't get rid of Trump in the first place. And I said this, he is their greatest asset. Not just Israel's, but the controllers. Because Trump can do shit that no other politician would do. Like, he's standing on the Gaza Strip that's just been obliterated and destroyed, and he's calling it a moment of peace and victory for peace, right? Like the insane fucking braggadocious nature of Trump, right? How fucked up it is.
Plenty to not like about Marjorie Taylor Greene and Joe Rogan. But if we could have done this on our own, we wouldn't be here.
Exactly, because you limp-dicked. You can't do anything. You know why? Because you elected a fucking senile piece of shit in Joe Biden and pretend that he was okay when he clearly wasn't. And you lied about it. So you're completely complicit in this thing.
Fierce backlash tonight from the MAGA base after this surprising announcement with great fanfare from the Trump administration.
I'm also proud that today we're signing a letter of acceptance to build a Qatari Emiri Air Force facility at the Mountain Home Air Base in Idaho. The location will be host a contingent of Qatari F-15s and pilots to enhance our combined training, increase lethality, interoperability.
Holy shit. Is you actually fucking doing that? Is that what the fucking plane cost you, right? The Trump plane? I didn't know this was happening. I had this been up for a couple days. I didn't watch it. Of course they're upset. They're putting a Qatari Air Force base in Idaho where it's like one of the most Republican fucking backwoods militia motherfucking... I lived up in the Panhandle. And so... And you're going to put a Qatari, a foreign government's Air Force base in American soil? Is that what, Trump... They gave Trump that free plane? Is that what this is about? Holy shit, right? This is America first. I mean, it's good it's just not China or Israel. But holy shit, right? And so, of course, the MAGA people, I mean, I'm not covering whatever his name is. It's his birthday today. Today is the Red Out, so I'll probably cover that tomorrow. Geez, I can't even remember his name. Charlie Kirk. And so I've covered him so much. And today's a Red Out. I'll see some of that tomorrow. Everyone's supposed to wear a Charlie Kirk red shirt today to remember him. I mean, just, all these things. But this is what he was pushing for. And the Republicans are just starting to smell the reality that Trump stinks.
He's sitting next to a member of the Qatari royal family there, just to be clear. It's an announcement that caught
Thanks for that.
everyone off guard. The administration greenlighting a plan for Qatar to build an Air Force facility in Idaho. And Trump's base is livid about it. Far-right activist Laura Loomer, who has Trump's ear, highly influential in MAGA world.
Yeah, because, she's an Israeli shill.
Lashing out. One of her posts, she says, what the hell is going on? Why are we trying to train more Muslims how to fly planes on U.S. soil? Didn't we already learn our lesson? Why are we encouraging more Islamic infiltration of our country?
You mean when you trained you trained and funded the ones that took down the World Trade Center? Is that what you're talking about, Loomer?
By the founders of Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood. This is very bad for our national security. And by the way, she had a lot more where that came from. Laura Loomer, in fact, has fired off about 40 more posts on X, slamming the decision. 40 posts on this today. Watch them populate the screen. They're mad. At one point, writing, this is where I draw the line. I am not voting in 2026. And then Steve
You're not voting?
Bannon came out and told Newsweek there should never be a military base of a foreign power on the sacred soil of America. Now, to clarify, Qatar is building a facility to house a squadron of F-15 pilots and teams. I mean, that's a lot of Qatari military personnel on an existing U.S. base. And maybe there are serious security concerns with that, but there are concerns. There are when it comes to corruption. For one.
Okay, so there's all that. I got her. I'm good.
This is the same country that gifted Trump the luxury jet. Remember the jet? Reported price tag on it was $400 million. The jet that Trump wants to use is Air Force One, right? That was Qatar. And by the way, when it comes to money, because it always does, Trump's family and the Qataris are business partners now. Eric Trump recently unveiled plans for a new golf course and a beachside resort in Qatar. And Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, has raised billions of dollars from several Middle Eastern countries, including Qatar. Qatar is also central to the Trump's Middle East crypto strategy, which is now the bulk of his net worth, helped make his children billionaires. Most recently, Qatar also made sure to stay in Trump's good graces.
Yeah, they're charged. This whole thing. So he's got, and this is bumming the Israelis out, but he's got the whole Qatar thing going on. So, fuck it, right? It's just, it's just, I'll cover the Red Out today. I'll work on today for tomorrow. But, it's just whatever. Like, it's just more of the apocalypse. And it's Paul Romano definitely reporting from the apocalypse and the ascension. That's not how it goes. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano definitely reporting from the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.